Welcome back, everyone, to Motorsport Manager. Now, you may have noticed on the screen that we're at the main menu rather than preparing for the next race, that kind of thing. That's because we got some things to catch up on before we go any further into the game itself. First and foremost, in the real world side of things, outside of the gaming and outside of the channel, I've gotten a new job which has had me working a lot of hours. So my gaming time over the last week, 2 weeks, and so on, have been essentially zero. So I've had very little to any time to do any gaming, much less any recording of that gaming. So that's been something that has really been wearing on me a lot over the last couple of weeks. Also, inside the gaming world, and in particular the Motorsport Manager world, I started having some errors and game crashes. And ultimately, the Let's Play series that you guys had been watching, which I believe took us through the first 5 series of the first season of the GT series, is no more because essentially I cannot continue with that save. I had reached a point where the game would crash every time I got to a certain point, and I tried some different things to get around that and was really unsuccessful in doing so. So while that was incredibly frustrating, when you combine that with the changing jobs in real life, there's a lot going on. So what I've decided to do is, rather than spending any more time trying to figure out that save, I'm just going to start fresh. So I was looking around a little bit because I've logged well over 200 hours, I think almost 250 hours in this game at this point. So I started looking around, okay, what would make this game fun for me? And I love the GT series. That much is for sure. But I was looking around, maybe there's some mods or something that I could use to spice this thing up. And I did find one that I think will be good going forward. It looks like it's a little bit rough around the edges right now, but it's something that I want to use. So let's take a look at that first before we get started. So we're going to go into Steam Workshop. And I learned one particular lesson very much the hard way in this, and that is, of the 3 sections here, now most people are not going to be dealing with my workshop because most people are not going to be working on or publishing any particular mods. So you're left to deal with the first 2 options, which are mods and then assets. Now, mods are the things that we've looked at in the past. In fact, we even did a mod spotlight on the NASCAR mod. So you've got several things that you can subscribe to within here and quite a few options within that. But then if you go to the assets section, this is where you're going to find things like new 3D models, 3D car models. And one of those that I want to use is the NASCAR Ford Fusion 2017 model. And the way these are supposed to work is you can activate and inactivate these from within the game without starting a new save file, because they simply determine which models get loaded up for which particular series that you're racing in. So the idea is that you can move these in and out of your game. And you can see there is a lot of good mods in here. I've actually chosen 2 that I really like. Okay, and that is the Ford Fusion that I mentioned previously, and then the Le Mans prototype mod, which has, you can see, several different models for the various teams. Each one of the models is assigned to a different team. So I decided that I like that, but I got a little bit worried that maybe this prototype mod was causing me some issues with the save file, and that's how I got into trouble with where I was at. So I've decided to completely turn that one off, and I'm going to turn on the Ford Fusion mod. And the way this will work is because of the time that I've spent and the number of times that I've gone through sort of the tiers. In the case of the GT series, you have 2 tiers. You have the bottom tier and then the upper tier. Well, I've been starting in the bottom tier, and you guys saw, again, I believe it was the first 5 races of the season in that tier. Well, at this point, because of everything that's happened in the real world, plus with the issues with the save file and the game crashes, I think I'm going to start the new series in the top tier. Okay, in the previous Let's Play series, we've gone through the leveling up, and we've gone through the moving up through the 3 tiers of the open wheel series before there was a GT series. So we've gone through the moving up between the tiers. So I really want to focus on the upper tier. Now that's going to make things extremely difficult for me, and I am very, very okay with that. So that's not an issue. But what I did want to do is just go ahead and do that because of something else that is going on right now. And that is, for those of you who may be RPG fans, you'll know that Mass Effect is coming out. And by the time you see this video, Mass Effect will be right around the corner. And that is something that I am in love with, the Mass Effect series. I've played the first three, the trilogy, I don't even know how many times at this point because I just enjoy it so much. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time in that going forward, but I do want to continue playing Motorsport Manager because it is something I really enjoy. So I've simply decided that I'm going to choose the Ford Fusion model and we're going to go at it from that angle. So where do we go from here? Well, this is already active. We're going to hit continue here. And since normally it would give you a loading screen where it says it's loading assets, but in this case, we didn't get that because I already have it loaded in the game. So we're going to start a new career. And the way these particular models work is they're only loaded in the GT1 series. So if I started in GT2, the lower series, then I would have the normal GT models in the game until I moved up to the upper tier and then had a chance to use the new Ford Fusion model. So we're going to leave everything essentially as normal. Really didn't have to mess with turning this off because it tells you plainly that the tutorial is unavailable in the GT category, but just to make sure I turned it off. Now, here's something else that I wanted to let you guys know about, and that is, again, after nearly 250 hours in the game, I sort of know the people that are in here. I sort of know what crew chiefs I might want, or I sort of know what drivers I'm looking for, and I wanted to mix that up. So one of the things I've done is I've subscribed to the mod, the full driver and staff randomized. So brand new drivers and brand new staff, they're completely randomized. Some of the names might be the same or similar, but all the stats should be different. So I've got this turned on, okay? Because again, I sort of know the other drivers and staff that I want, so I wanted to get away from that. I wanted to bring something fresh in. So now we're going to have a new 3D model, and we're going to have new drivers and staff. Okay, I'm not going to be using the NASCAR drivers and teams. I'm not going to be using that. So let's go ahead and continue. Let it load up the assets that it needs to, and let's move forward. It's okay, let's get me in here quickly. I'm not worried about the date of birth because that's really not going to make any difference whatsoever to the game. Let's see, we're going to do the financial again because that's my background in real life, so I might as well stick with that for now. All right, so let's take care of that. I think we're good on this screen. We're of course going to make a brand new team. And at this point, we're going to go straight to the GT Championship. Okay, so you got overall prize fund is 200 million. You can see that is a little less than half of what the Formula One would be, and double what the Tier 2 series would be an open wheel. So you can see you're in between the Tier 1 and Tier 2 series on the open wheel side as far as money goes. All right, so we're going to choose the GT Championship and let this thing load up. At which point we're going to get started creating our team. Okay, I'm not going to spend a terrible amount of time on this because we've been through this before. We're just going to name it gaming this time. We could have chose racing there either way. And okay, US, let's do logo design. I kind of like this logo design, but we're going to do things a little bit different. Let's see. Let's go ahead and make this. Okay, that doesn't look particularly good. All right, so we'll go back to the white. That'll make it stand out a little bit for there. Okay, for here, we're going to try this out. I'm going to try the black and red this time. We're going to see how this works out. Again, you don't really see these a whole lot within the game, or at least I don't pay that much attention to them. So, all right, now here we go with, you can see the model is loaded up. Now, I mentioned that it was a little rough around the edges, And you can see here on the hood, you've got some wrinkles here where it looks like maybe the UV mapping isn't lining up exactly right. But overall, I like the model, and I really appreciate the work that has been put in by the mod author in not only creating the model, but also the time it took to get it in the game, and I'm sure some extra time to make all of the paint schemes work. So let's just take a quick look at what we've got. Now, I want to start this off by, again, playing around a little bit with the color. And I want to use white as one of my, oops, well, that would have helped if I would have hit the right button there. Okay, let's move back. And let's see, white for the first one. And then let's see what we look like with blue there. All right, now let's flip through some of these options. Okay, I kind of like that one. Again, we're not going to be able to essentially see this very much, if any, while we're on the track. Okay, 5 or 6, I like both of those. So this is really just eye candy for us to look at during the menu options for the most part, and during the sponsorship tab. Okay, I like that one. That looks nice. All right, let's go back to, that one's got a lot going on. Okay, let's just choose that one. That's a little different than what I've done in the past. We're going to, okay, we'll see how this works out. Of course, we'll have a chance at the end of each season to change that up if we don't like where it's going. Okay, let's go ahead and continue through that. Have we finished? Absolutely, we have. And because we are starting at the very top here, in the very top series, and we are going to be at the bottom in every category, let's go ahead and get this large financial package and the pre-built test track. And so let's give ourselves a little bit of help here, because otherwise we're going to have no shot for several seasons. But we're going to try to progress through this as quickly as we can. Give the game a chance to get everything loaded that it needs to, and then we're going to take a quick look at what it is that we're starting with. Okay, so our paint scheme isn't terrible, maybe not as good as I was hoping for, but that's more my fault than anything. All right, let's see what we got for emails. All right, we got the normal emails that we've seen before. We've got the person that's going to be in charge of firing us if we don't do a good job. Then we've got our assistant. We've got our targets. We're going to go with 8th place this season. Hopefully we can manage that. It's going to be a task, I believe, to get there. But hey, that's what we're here for, to have some fun. And so we've talked about the energy recovery systems before. You've seen that, and the 3-stage qualifying is now not new to us. So we're going to go ahead and move through that. Okay, let's take a look at the team, and you can see we are dead last in everything. And because we're in the upper tier, I would imagine as we flip through some of these that the driver, oh, that's right, we can't see the drivers yet. We're going to have to scout every driver in order to see exactly what is going on. So, but we already know that we're missing some driving talent along with everything else. Okay, we've got our drivers, which don't cost a terribly high amount, but let's see what we've got. 55% marketability, and wow, 0% marketability. Well, that combined with the fact that they're 35 years old, which means that they are going to be on the downside of their career very shortly, if they're not already. So we do indeed have some work to do. These are all essentially useless to us, as they are extremely low in all categories. Yeah, this is horrendous. So what we're going to do is to start out, because we've got $32 million. Okay, and we're going to want to start out by working on our car. Okay, let's see what kind of numbers we've got here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, okay, let's go ahead and move those a little bit, because we're going to start designing some parts for the car. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start out with, let's see, what takes the fewest amount of time? Well, it looks like we got brakes and spoilers. So let's go ahead and start with brakes. All right, so we've got a good draw here, plus 20. And the reason I say a good draw is because anytime you're dealing with a lead designer that is really, really low, then you end up with a lot of things that are high risk. And I don't want that. You can see here, it looks like we've got a good option under the good. So that'll be nice for us. So we'll start out with this, and you can see it's going to be done 11 days before the race. So we're going to start out with some of the cheaper parts and then move forward. Now, my plan for the series is we're going to work our way up to the first race in this video, and then I'm going to skip through a little bit because you guys have already seen the first 5 races of a brand new career in the GT series. So you guys have seen what the new parts look like. You've seen sort of how things start out. You've seen that we have terrible drivers and staff and so on. So what I'm most interested in doing at this point is let's pick up toward the end of the season and maybe even into season 2 where I can actually show you guys some progress that has been made. We'll see how it goes from here. But also I plan on spending some of this money. Let's go ahead and look at a new building. And I want to pick up a scouting facility. 2.2 million, not a huge deal for us right now. Okay, so we're going to push things in this. Again, we've got Mass Effect coming up, which I'm extremely excited about. And I really, really want to push this thing as hard as I can to see exactly what we can get out of this first season. Because really the pressure in this game isn't all that much generally. You can get the happiness of your chairman up pretty easily for the most part. So we're going to go ahead and get started on a couple of things here. Okay, so we spent a little bit of money, but it's got some things going on. Okay, so we've got, all right, the test track, I wanted to see how much it would cost to continue upgrading that. No big deal there. Okay, and as soon as we get our factory upgraded, we're going to have some more of these options pop in here. Now, what we need to start with, since we know that after taking a look at them, neither one of these drivers am I particularly interested in keeping, let's go ahead and get some scouting ready to go. And the way I'm going to choose who I want to start out scouting is, you can see we've got a ton of drivers in here because of the randomization. I believe some additional drivers have also been added in there that they're all free agents. Okay, so let's take a quick look through some of these and let's just see who we've got. Okay, I'm looking at sort of the ranges here. I like the overtaking. The smoothness is no good. Let's try to find some smooth drivers. Okay, this could be fairly good. Braking is good. Of course, I wish I had a way of telling. Okay, not too bad there. Again, we're just sort of, it's a shot in the dark for the most part. But I've got to start somewhere here. And okay, let's see what we've got. I really, really want some drivers that are pretty smooth. That gives you so much more option. It looks like it's going to be a really good driver. Okay, that's not too bad. I'm going to favorite this one just because of the high smoothness rating. I'm going to have to remember to hit the right button as I'm going through here. There we go. There's another good one. And there we go. There's another one. Okay, and my plan for this, again, most of what I'm looking at here is in the smoothness. Just to see, they have to have a certain minimum level for the most part before I'm really interested in them. Because, like I said, it just opens up so much more in the way of options. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead, and that should be a few to get us going. Let's see if there's any additional ones that we catch up to really quickly. There we go. Wow, that could be a really good driver. 17 years old. Yeah, that could be very nice. But again, there's more to it than this. I got to see their marketability. Maybe that's no good, that kind of thing. So there's a lot to consider with drivers. It's not just about talent. You also have to consider, the smoothness, the marketability, because that's going to affect how much money we can bring into the team, especially right now when our car is going to be subpar at best. Okay, that should be enough to get us going. All right, we'll take that from there. A designer, again, if we scroll up, and all this is lined up by ability. Okay, not much on gearboxes, but otherwise, okay, that doesn't really help us a whole lot. I don't plan on doing anything with this just yet. All right, good components take no time to build. That saves you a couple of days. And okay, that is very, very nice. Let's approach this designer and let's see what the wages are. Wow, that's a lot, but we're going to be spending a lot of time trying to upgrade our parts. Okay, I just wanted to get a sense there. I'm not really ready to spend that money because it's not going to be of much use to us. We don't have any buildings built where we can take advantage of the upper tier of the parts, the better parts, these great, epic, and legendary parts just yet. But I do want to favorite her because she does have the trait that I'm looking for, produces additional part at no cost or time. Okay, that is, now we've got 2 of these. But again, numbers are pretty good here overall. Very nice. We're going to get, okay, apparently this isn't all that rare at this point because now we've got another one. Okay, so let's move out of this. And we see our finances. Right now we're going to lose about 1.6 million per race, and that's because we don't have any sponsors. Okay, so we've got a couple of HQ buildings going. We've got our scouting facility, which will be done first in about 3 months, and then our factory, which is going to take a couple more months beyond that. We've got new parts going on the car, which will be done. We got 16 days before the next race, so we're going to have time to work on some new parts here. Let's go ahead and move forward. So I'm not going to hire any new personnel just yet. I'm going to wait until we have a car that's worthy of driving, and then also some drivers that are actually capable of pushing. Okay, so let's see what we've got. Let's go ahead and make, because we know we're going to make some new brakes. So we're going to pick, now we have 2 options, 2 slots opened up. We're going to pick the plus 20, and let's see. Okay, I'm going to choose this option because plus 2 versus plus 5. We're very close as to how much performance we're going to get out of this anyway. Okay, so let's go ahead and move forward with that. Again, I'm not so much concerned with getting all of these done before the first race or the second race and so on. What I'm more concerned with than anything else is just by, say, the first half of the season, having as much of this new development done as I possibly can. Okay, let's go ahead and let's see. Actually, these 2 should be fine at that level now that I've got some parts ready to go. All right, we'll go ahead and move forward now. We've got our wonderful interview at the beginning of the season. Okay, we're going to make no promises there. That gets us a little bit. All right, I'm lucky enough to have 2 great drivers. Gets me a little bit more. And let's see. Okay, we're expected to finish 10th. And so if I choose this option, the confidence level of these 2 are going to go down. So I'm just going to choose the one that's not going to do anything for us, really. And I'm going to choose this one, which gets me a little bit more happiness with the chairman. So all in all, not a whole lot happening there. Okay, let's move it forward, and we're going to see, here we go, we're about to have our new brake build finish. Looks like we've got a couple more sponsors that have popped up as well. All right, so she has a personal contract with this oil company. They expect me to race, but are aware that the team needs to make up their own mind about that. Okay, so wow, $409,000 for Clements. Is she one of the drivers? Yes. Okay. So she is a pay driver. I wasn't aware of that. Now, still, marketability is horrendous, but that is a new trait, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. So that new trait just popped in. That's the first time I've seen that. I've not seen anybody gain the trait of a pay driver into a season. Okay, let's go ahead and design a new part, and we're going to see what we can get with brakes. And the reason I'm going back in here, even though we don't have a building to unlock the brake components, we have now a third slot. So let's see, if I go here and here, that gets us to 316. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Again, this is all essentially looking forward to the end of the season. This is really going to start to bear fruit around that time. For the first half of the season, we're going to be horrendous. There's no doubt about that. We'll be fighting for every position we can get. Okay, so, all right, we're essentially at our first race here. So I'm going to leave that as is, and then as soon as that's done, we'll jump in with the better components. Okay, let's see what kind of sponsorship we've got so far. Now, our marketability is horrible. Okay, so I'm going to be wanting short deal lengths as much as possible, but essentially we just want to make sure we get as much as we can. All right, so here we're going to get just under 200,000 per race. We'll go ahead and choose that one, even though it doesn't have, we could have waited for a third offer to come in. We're not going to do that. You know, we're going to get what we can get for now because our marketability is so terribly low. Okay, let's go ahead and move forward. Let's see what we've got for our first race. We have no sponsorship offers just yet. Looking to lose about 1.2 million roughly. And let's see what we've got. I forget which driver is the better driver. Okay, so our pay driver is actually the better driver. Okay, let's go ahead and fit those parts. And let's see, let's go ahead and give her. Okay, that's pretty good. And they're both showing up as equal status. And we'll see how that goes during the race, and I'll report back to you whenever we meet up again later on in the season for the next video. But from what I've seen so far, it doesn't look like they're going to be close to being the same or even close to equal drivers. All right, so unfortunately we can't use this new part. Actually, we probably could get away with it because you can fix brakes in a very short amount of time. I forget what it is. It's like 3 to 5 seconds, somewhere in that range. So it doesn't take long at all. I'm not even sure how they're accomplishing that quickly because there's no way you can change brake pads or anything in that short amount of time. But hey, that's what the game shows. We're going to go with it. And we're going to try to get as much as we can. So now that we've essentially done everything that we can to prepare for the new season, I mean, we've got HQ buildings that are underway. We've got a couple of new parts that we've made already, as well as more that are coming down the pipeline. We're scouting some new drivers. We're doing a lot of things like that. So at this point, I'm going to end the video here. And then, so we'll come back in the next video and we'll pick up somewhere later on in the season. It'll probably be around race number 6. That would make sense given where we ended previously. But we'll see how things go. And I'm going to bring you guys back in for the next video where it makes sense that we have a car that can actually contend for some better positions. Still considering the fact, of course, that we're in our very first season in the top tier. So thank you very much for joining me and stay tuned for more Motorsport Manager.